Aside from Piaget, Lev Vygotsky has been another important early developmental psychologist. And Vygotsky saw cognitive development as an apprenticeship in which children advance by interaction with other children or caregivers who are more mature. And Vygotsky therefore believes that social interaction is an important aspect of cognitive development. And Vygotsky's major contribution are the zone of proximal development, scaffolding, the idea of scaffolding, and the idea of private speech, which we have already touched on when we were discussing language development. The zone of proximal development is an idea that help, for the most part, instructors identify the level of difficulty that they should be teaching young children. It's based on the fact that we can measure along the continuum the degree to which children are able to understand and solve problems. Right? So if you have a continuum, that child will be able to solve problems only up to a level, and then the difficulty will be too great for them and they just simply can't do it. Now, there's going to be some space in between the maximum amount of difficulty that they can achieve when solving problems by themselves and a little bit more difficulty when receiving help from someone else. And that difference, according to Vygotsky, is the zone of proximal development. So it's the difference between what a child can do with and without help from a more experienced guide. Now think about it. If you are teaching a child at the level above what they can do even with help, they're not going to be able to understand it. It's going to be way too difficult for them. Now, at the same time, a child is not going to learn anything if you teach them at a level that is below their capability. It's too easy, right? So, according to Vygotsky, children learn much more whenever they're taught at that specific level between what they can do a little bit more than what they can do by themselves, and obviously below the maximum that they can understand and do with the help from others. And this is an important idea, specifically if you want to teach children at an individual level, not at the level of the class, but at the level of the individual. And scaffolding is a related phenomenon where you want to give students just enough assistance for achievement and understanding. In other words, it seems obvious to most of you, I assume, that you don't want to necessarily do too much or solve too much of a problem for when you're helping a child, because otherwise you're going to do the problem for them. So just give enough assistance and push them up, like with the scaffolding, right? By building upon their existing knowledge, just give them enough help to push them up a little bit and then let them go on their own. Also, another major contribution, if you remember when we talked about language development, Vygotsky is the one that developed the idea of private speech. He observed children that sometimes talk not to anybody but to themselves, and according to Vygotsky, the private speech is the beginning of a development of thought. That someone first, a child talks to him or herself out loud, and from there then they internalize that private speech and it becomes a thought. They realize that they don't have to utter any noise in order to process that information. they can simply think about it without saying anything. Now, the next interesting and I believe important topic in the study of development, specifically development of children, is attachment. What is attachment? Attachment is defined as security that an organism feels, a young child specifically, in the presence of another, typically the primary caregiver, along with need for physical closeness, so that the child likes to be physically close to and connected, if possible, with the other. Now, attachment is usually formed with the mother, but it can be any responsive and caring person. So the idea responsive and caring are key here. So in order for a child to develop an attachment, research has shown that the individual needs to be responsive to them. So whenever they cry, the person who is going to check on them and give them what they need, so taking care of them, is the one that they're going to develop the strongest attachment towards. Right? So, for example, some research have looked at the degree of attachment between young children and their father, and the research compared the level of attachment and correlated it to, strangely enough, the number of diapers that father would change during the course of a week. And what they found was that strangely enough, right, the greater the number of diapers that the father changed, the greater the attachment. Of course, it doesn't only relate to diapers, but also, if a child is being bottle fed, it will be the number of bottles that they give the young child. But in any event, so there's a critical element here, is responsiveness and care. Now, the early research on attachment was developed by Harlow, and Harlow, being a behaviorist, believed that attachment is learned and is based appropriately enough on caregivers' attention. So we're not born with this innate desire to be in contact with a person, although, as you remember, when we talk about imprinting, that would be an instinct, right? An instinct that some birds experience, where they're going to develop a strong attachment towards the first moving object that they see. So that would be an inborn tendency. Well, Harlow believed that higher order organisms like monkeys and human require something more. And Harlow believed that we have this, to begin with, this need for contact, comfort. And this idea really came out of the question of what is it really that determines this attachment in human and higher order organism like monkey. Is it the closeness that, for example, occurs between the mother and the child, or is it simply the fact that the mother, in a vast majority of the situation, provides nourishment, milk, to the infant? So some people believe that that was the closeness that was the important factor, while actually up to the point where Harlow conducted his research, most researchers believe that it was simply the food, the fact that the mother provides milk, and therefore that is the critical component. So Harlow conducted this interesting experiment where he exposed a baby monkey to the choice of either a surrogate mother monkey, like a fake mother monkey, made out of wire that provided milk, though. See, it has a bottle there and with a nipple where milk is released. And then you have this other monkey that is made out of cloth, so it's a softer cloth, but doesn't provide any food. So the question is, where is this baby monkey gonna go? How long is she gonna stay in either in connection with the mother that provides food or the one that only provides comfort but not food? And as you can see in this graph, there's much more time. The baby monkey spent much more time with the cloth mother than the wire mother. So the baby monkey, whenever it's released, it's gonna go immediately over, and if she's hungry, she's gonna eat from the wired mother. But then when she's done eating, she's gonna move over and hang out with and hug and stay close to the cloth monkey. So again, going back to this idea that what seems to be critical is contact comfort. The idea that the baby monkey and presumably human develop an attachment towards their primary caregiver, most of the time their mother, primarily as a result of that contact comfort and not food. More recently, other researchers like Anne Ainsworth focused on the different types of attachment that a child specifically can develop. Ainsworth realized that children behave differently with their primary caregiver, typically their mother. And so she developed this interesting experiment which is called the strange situation experiment, where the mother and the young child are introduced into a room, and then after a while, after a few minutes, the mother leaves, and the young child is left there in the room with a stranger. Now, when the mother returned to the room, the child reacted differently to the mother's return, and specifically Ainsworth found that there were 4 distinct behaviors which expressed the type of attachment that that child had developed with their mother. And the 4 different behaviors relating to the type of attachment are secure attachment, avoidant attachment, resistant attachment, and disorganized. So most children developed a secure attachment and expressed that in a behavior whereby, of course, like most other children, when the mother left and the child was in a room alone with a stranger, most of them were uncomfortable and they cried. And however, when the mother returned, the child is comforted, crying stops, and then after a few minutes the child begins to explore the room again. They leave the mother and they go off and play. Some children develop a behavior that expressed the type of attachment that Ainsworth called avoidant, which was when the mother returned, the child ignored her and turned away, as if to say, you know, how dare you have left me here by myself. I'm not going to love you anymore. I'm not gonna care for you anymore. I'm going to ignore you. Then there is a resistant attachment, where again, a smaller percentage of the children, when the young child is upset, even after the mother returns to the room and comforts them, the child remains upset and is difficult to console, and they will stay attached to their mother. They will not leave her to go off and play by themselves anymore, because they're afraid, presumably, that the mother is going to leave them again. Right? So they're very difficult to console, and this type of behavior is classified with resistant, as being resistant attachment. And finally, a very small percentage of the children show disorganized attachment, in which the child, upon their mother return, expressed all sort of behavior. Sometimes they avoided her, sometimes they begin to cry and wouldn't want to leave her anymore. So they were a little bit all over the place. They didn't show any consistent pattern of behavior in reaction to their mother return. And interestingly, according to Ainsworth, what might be happening is that as children, we develop one of these types of attachment with their primary caregiver, and then we're going to use that type of attachment as a model in our future relationship. In addition to that, children who are securely attached are more confident, they're more successful, they have fewer conflicts with their peers, they do better in school, they have a higher degree of confidence. So again, this conclusion is that children can use this early attachment as prototypes, as models. And as a matter of fact, going back to these different types of attachment, let's do a little exercise here and try to imagine some of your friends and try to fit them into these 4 different categories. I'm sure that so let's set up a scenario, for example, of a situation where you have a party and at your house, and you don't invite one of your friends, so you leave them out. Now, a friend who has this adopted this secure type of attachment might come to you and be upset to the fact that you didn't invite them to your party, and say, hey, I was hurt that you didn't ask me to come over for your party, but we are friends again, and let's continue our friendship. Or let's a type of secure attachment. I'm sure that you all can imagine some friends who, in a situation where you don't invite them for a party that you have at your house, are going to ignore you. Right? They're going to turn away, and they don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. They stop answering your phone calls. They avoid you in the future. Right? So that would be an avoidant attachment. Then we have resistant attachment, where you might have some friends who, if you don't invite them over for a party that you have at your house, are upset, and they are so upset that they will remain upset for a very long time, and every time you see them, they keep on bringing that up. They say, oh, I can't believe that 3 months ago you didn't invite me to that party that you have at your house. So you see, they're continuously afraid that you're gonna leave them in one way or another. And finally, again, some of you might have experienced a situation where you have friends who shows a type of disorganized attachment, where you never know what to expect from them. Again, bringing up the scenario where you don't invite them to your party, they might be upset one moment, and then they might become avoidant the next, where they ignore you, then a week later they keep on calling you, and they're really clingy, and they don't want to let you go anymore, so they're resistant, so they're disorganized. They never know what to expect. So I hope that this illustrates clearly that this theory that we might use this different type of attachment that we develop early in life as templates, as model for how we behave in our future relationship, makes sense, right? All right.